Our third session is a panel discussion on case-based prescription writing. The topic is roots and duration of MHD, clinical assessment, investigations, formulations available, prescription in different cases, alternative therapies, and lifestyle medicine. For this, the moderators are Dr. Shobha Goody ma'am, and Dr. Jayashree Bidkar ma'am.
Very good morning to all of you, and welcome to the MHT workshop panel on menopause hormone therapy. And let me at the outset thank the organizers, the fantastic the BMS team, Bengaluru Menopause Society and Bhopal Menopause Society. So we have something in common, and lovely to see the color maroon. I think it symbolizes richness, and that is how the life of a menopausal woman should be. It should be rich in experience and not painful. So here goes, over to Jayashree to invite the panelists. Yes.
Good morning, distinguished faculties and all the delegates. I welcome you all to this panel discussion on MHT. It's an honor, truly an honor, to co-moderate this session with Dr. Shobha Goody, whose contribution to this field has shaped both clinical practice and academic thinking. We are very fortunate to have such a seasoned voice to guide today's discussion.
You can call the panelists. Thank you, Jayashree. The panelists
I would like to invite all the panelists. Dr. Anju Gupta.
आपने सामने में एक नहीं रखा है ना?
Dr. Anju Gupta, Dr. Janki Desai.
Can you speak into the mic more?
Dr. Beena Tandon, Dr. Sandhya Khare, Dr. Jagruti, and Dr. Janki Desai, and cardiologist Dr. Shashank Dikshit, Dr. Pratik Tiwari, oncologist, and Dr. Harsha Pamnani, and two experts, Dr. Meenakshi Verma and Dr. Sushma Verma.
Yeah.
May I request all the panelists to give their introduction in one line?
One line introductions from each panelist, please. Yeah. We can start from this end. Yeah. जागृति आपसे थोड़ा माइक दे देंगे वहाँ जल्दी से. Please quickly give them a mic. 2 mics will be needed there because so many. Yeah. On.
Dr. Jagruti Desai, practicing gynecologist from Surat, President Menopause Society, Surat.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Anju Gupta from Aligarh Menopause Society. I am the founder president of the Menopause Society there.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Sandhya Khare from Khare Nursing Home and IVF Center, Devas, private practitioner.
Good morning. I am Dr. Beena Tandon, a practicing gynecologist from Lucknow Menopause Society, Lucknow.
I am Dr. Janki Desai from Revive Women's Clinic, Ahmedabad, and I am Vice President, Ahmedabad Menopause Society.
Good morning. I am Dr. Shashank Dikshit, working as an intervention cardiologist in Spandan Hospital, Bhopal.
Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Harsha Pamnani, consultant endocrinologist at Bhopal.
Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Pratik Tiwari. I am a medical oncologist and I am assistant professor in Gandhi Medical College in medical oncology department and working as private practitioner also as a medical oncologist.
So today our goal is very simple. Identify candidates using window of opportunity. And she's left? Okay, sorry.
I'm Dr. Meenakshi Verma. I'm Director Meenakshi Hospital, Bhopal, in private practice for last 45 years.
Yeah.
I am Dr. Sushma Verma from Raipur, and I am a practicing gynecologist there, and I am the immediate past president of Raipur Menopause Society and chairperson elect for CIMP exam committee.
Many presidents.
So, a lot of presidents from local societies, member societies of IMS. So that gives a very positive vibe, and we have the parallel disciplines also. So welcome to the panel, all of you. Yeah. He's not doing. He says it's not possible. You have to manage like this.
Okay. So today our goal is very simple. Identify candidates using window of opportunity and individualized treatment based on age, symptoms of patients and time since menopause. Choose the safest molecule and safest route in common comorbidities and recognize contraindications and use non-hormonal options. And then use multidisciplinary approach in cardiovascular and cancer-related cases, and most importantly, improve confidence in case-based prescription writing. And these were the 6 rights of MHT, very well explained by Dr. Meeta.
Yeah. So then, yeah, you finished this? Yeah. So we shall move ahead now, and you know, every menopause practitioner should have it in their mind actually what is going on in the woman, okay? What are the significant effects of menopause? So what to you strikes maximum as the age factor? How does the age factor play out for midlife women? We're not talking about therapy now, we're talking about what is happening to the woman in the transition and thereafter. So if I can have any 2-3 responses, it will be great. Yes? Yeah? And it should be very crisp. Yeah. You can refer to the slide all the time. Correct. Mic is not working, huh? Mic is not working. Panelist mic is not working. Yeah.
Sorry. During the perimenopause, the woman starts getting vasomotor symptoms, mood changes, night sweats, sleep disorders.
Correct.
And these are maximum at the time of menopause, and usually they end within the next 2-3 years. Sometimes may extend up to 5-10 years. Then there is urogenital atrophy leading to dyspareunia, which is progressive, and some delayed effects like osteoporosis, atherosclerosis, coronary artery disease, and cerebrovascular
Anything
disease.
you want to add about the age factor? Yeah.
Yeah, most important, most of the patients have tiredness that is unexplained.
Exactly.
And
so our women do not have these typical symptoms. They have
And-
very vague symptoms.
And another is aches and pains of
Aches and
menopause.
pains of
And that is very
Yeah.
typical. They don't know what is happening to them.
Plus mood changes. Many times mood swings are the symptom with which they present to us.
Correct. Weight gain, yes. All right. All right. So we have made our point in this way that age really hampers a woman as she aging for men is different than aging for women, and there are many changes which happen, and she has to suffer through the aging, and that is the reason we have to be very alert about these symptoms. And as discussed till now, the symptoms are not very typical of what is described. So Indian population of menopausal women are not very typical. What is very important is the preventive aspect for the urogenital atrophy. The earlier you start treatment, the better it is for her. And about the disease. Yes, Dr. Beena, yes.
Dr. Shobha, as doctor rightly said, that we Indian have got atypical symptom.
Yes.
So sometime patient comes and she says, I am asymptomatic.
Yes.
Because 99% they know that the symptoms are either menstrual problems.
Correct.
Or if menses have stopped, then vasomotor. So, but they
We'll
don't
come to
know.
that case. Which
Yeah, that is why I'm coming
हम
to
आ
that.
जाएंगे
जी,
उस पे.
जी.
तो ये age is a major determinant of risks and benefit of MHT. So to the background of the age changes, now comes the value of MHT, and as rightly pointed out by, since the morning the deliberations, till 60 years there is a very, very strong role of menopause hormone therapy, and we better kind of tune ourselves because the benefit is outweighing the risks. So anyone wants to say about the 5 Ws of prescribing MHT? We heard about the 6 rights, but 5 Ws are essential because this come out from the white paper by NAMS in 20. It's better to get oriented to this, yes? Yeah. Yeah. माइक ठीक नहीं लग रहा है. I'm so sorry.
Hello. Yeah. So first W is who is MHT for, second what type and doses, third when should MHT be started and stopped, why is it important, and where it should be accessed.
Okay, in your experience, any of the panelists, including the experts, are these being met in your practice? Give one experience, na? Anybody from audience is also welcome.
We often see in our cardiology OPD patient with early menopause or patient with in their 5th decade, which come with, as you said, the vague symptoms of
What nonsense, yeah.
we often So as you will also discuss in the subsequent slides, that these are the patients who are the most benefited from the HRT therapy.
Thank you.
And if this patient is suppose 60 years old, so there is no point of giving HRT because it further increases the risk of cardiovascular diseases.
Okay.
So what I want to emphasize is that this is the point where the cardiologist or a physician or gynecologist should work in collaboration.
Wonderful.
To improve the symptoms and give benefit to these early menopause or the patient which are within the 10 years of the menopause, which are the most will be the most benefited with this therapy.
Thank you so much. Any other input, because we need to move on?
Yes. 1 minute.
Sir is wanting to speak. Yeah.
Sir, ma'am, you correctly said that the HRT is most neglected part in oncology. We get most of the patients who are having germ cell tumor.
Wonderful.
Their ovaries are removed in early ages, maybe in 8.
So you do come across women post surgery
definitely.
onco for
Yes.
premature menopause.
Yeah, it's a premature because they usually they got the ovary removed and uterus removed.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have early ovarian cancers also.
Correct.
So they also get the ovaries removed and uterus removed. And they are the best candidate for HRT if they are not genetically prone for breast cancer and other things. But it is a neglected part. We should
come
have
to the risk assessment.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Thank you for that input. I think we should move on. Anything you wanted to say different? Yeah?
Ma'am, in endocrine OPD, usually we used to see the cases of premature ovarian failure in primary hypothyroid anti-TPO positive patients.
Yes,
who
it's
come,
quite common in Indian population.
Who come at the age of 30-32 with premature ovarian failure, FSH ranging from 70-72. In Turner syndrome also we used to see, and in syndromic patients like adrenal insufficiency, those patients, they have menstruation has been stopped at the age of...
What has been your experience of MHT when you have prescribed? Yes.
Okay, ma'am, in those patients, the patients patients feel better with MHT. I have prescribed mainly in premature ovarian failure. In those patients, patients feel much better with the MHT, and quality of life of the patient has been improved. And patients
usually we give till the age of menopause also. Thank you so much. So these are the evaluation plans which we use. I will hand over to Jayashree a little bit because all this has been covered so much that I think we'll take it as the case comes. This is the old story, and I think Dr. Jyoti has gone through it. So this is what used to happen earlier. As you can see, why we want to kind of revisit these slides is because you can see the constant effort which has been happening by IMS to match up with the national guidelines. And then this is the white paper, and then these are the NAMS 2022 hormone therapy position statement excerpts, which I felt is, it's important to introduce this also to the audience. So not very different from what Meeta has been saying. The hormone therapy most effective for VSM and GUSM. I think we all know what these acronyms stand for. Every gynecologist should know that is genitourinary syndrome of menopause. And the key is that you do a shared decision making, and you personalize it, and you periodically re-evaluate it, etc. Benefit will outweigh the risk, the age factor we already discussed. Remember, for 10 years, in the appropriate window, you can definitely prescribe with confidence. And transdermal and lower doses decrease the risk of other things. POI, we have just now discussed. There is, however, you should also be aware as an Indian practitioner, where is it the data is lacking, so that you can do something about it. You can document your work and perhaps inform IMS from time to time that, look here, with me the women are like this, these are my data, and bring out a small paper to read in such conferences. Really, that will help a lot. So the paucity of RCT data is for 60 to 65 years, which is today expanding. That is the expanded MHT. And yes, the myth of breast cancer should go away. And as the oncologist is also saying, compounded hormones not to be used, not to be encouraged, and women should be alerted against them. And after 60 years, for persistent VMS, quality of life, absolutely it is possible to continue with a lot of caution. And for women with GSM, vaginal estrogen can be continued for very long. Molecules have been spoken about. One thing which I wanted to highlight was it's important to be aware about what you are prescribing. Know your molecule. It's important to know that, the conjugated is not so great because its biological availability is less. It impacts the liver, it goes through the liver, and there is, of course, higher risk of the clotting, etc., the coagulation problems. Estradiol valerate is better, of course, and it has to convert to 17 beta, and 17 beta is here to stay. So please know more about the molecules. And this slide is only to highlight the heart there, and the cardiologist will agree with me and Jayashri that all-cause mortality is actually less in the users as compared to the non-users. And the main reason is the commonest cause of death in women is, yes, it is not cancer. It is not cancer. It is a cardiac event. So please remember that this is validated data, has come with a lot of nichod of evidence. So let us believe that it will improve quality of life and, in all probability, longevity of life. Okay?
Just to intervene, ma'am, this
yes.
one, as you mentioned that the number one killer is cardiovascular diseases. You have to understand this, even though the incidence of cardiovascular disease is still more in men than in women. But because of the ignorance on the part of patient as well as the doctor, we receive most of the patient which have already are in a complicated state, which have already had MI or something, and they present late. This is the cause of more mortality because they reach hospital late, especially women's. Because most of the symptoms, as you said, the menopausal symptoms are vague. The cardiovascular symptoms are also vague. They are not typical of what men have, like a profuse chest sweating or chest pain. It can be a simple dyspepsia or fatigue or something like that. So most of the patients do not turn to the hospital in the window period. And the window period is very important in this MI. So that is the cause of high mortality in women when compared to men, even though the incidence is more in men.
Thank you, sir, so much for that input. Yeah.
As Mr. Doctor rightly said, in females, the cardiac conditions are most of the time underdiagnosed and undertreated.
Yes, sir.
Because it is a microvessel disease. So most of the time, people don't know that we are undergoing a serious problem,
yes.
and thus the mortality is high.
Thank you, Beena. Yeah. Yeah, please.
Some healthy lifestyle tips for easy transition to menopause. Healthy diet, regular exercises, positive attitude to life, engaging in hobbies, work of choice, housework or community work, whatever you like, no smoking, minimum alcohol consumption, vitamins and antioxidants, hormone therapy wherever indicated, any other treatment for comorbidities.
Just wanted to emphasize that it is never a standalone prescription and it comes in a package. And unless everything is in place, MHT may not do the good that it is destined to do. So please give everything as a package and let her not forget that she has to become a different person. Okay? So these are some of the pharmacotherapies which have been, proven to be safe as alternative therapies also. And today the focus will not be on non-hormonal or alternate, we'll only touch it as it comes. And these are something which already has been spoken. And it's important to, if you want, you can keep such prints in your consultation room so that you don't actually forget. It's easy to explain to the woman also. If you have something like this at your disposal, or through the app, you can always use tools to describe. Please remember, hormones are all double-edged, and if she doesn't take it properly, she'll come back to you with more problems. And some confidence diminution happens in the doctor and the therapy. So please see that you explain how it should be taken. That's very important, okay? So this is about the cyclical, the sequential, the continuous sequential, which has to be used in younger women, and the continuous combined with the lower doses is which is very apt for postmenopausal women. And the right side also gives some input about the transdermal. So I think we should go ahead, right? Yeah, please. Yeah.
So we move on to our first case. Patient age is 53 years. She has menopause at the age of 50. She comes to your clinic with complaints of hot flashes, night sweats, sleep disturbances. There's no history of CVD, no diabetes, no cancer history, and no other comorbidities. So the question to the panel, I think Dr. Anju Gupta will take this question. Is she an ideal candidate for MHT?
Yes, doctor, she appears to be an ideal candidate for MHT because she is at the right window of opportunity time phase.
Right.
She's within 10 years of menopause and her age is less than 60 years.
So would you like to investigate, do some baseline investigation before starting MHT?
But before starting MHT, there should be a total holistic assessment of her health. We should take a complete history, personal as well as family history, do an examination, do the relevant investigations, a risk assessment especially for breast cancer and or cardiovascular disease. And then after that, individualize her treatment based on the risk and benefit assessment.
Some input on the route and the need for progesterone. Yeah.
Yes, if she has no contraindications for oral, then oral is preferred because it has better effect on lipid profile. And
tell us your choice of molecules, doctor.
I would prefer 17 beta estradiol. 1 milligram we can start for her, and
progesterone for how long? Which one
yes, because she has a uterus, then it is mandatory to give her progesterone. And for progesterone, it is better to give one of the natural progesterones, that is either natural micronized progesterone, 100 or 200 milligrams, or give her dydrogesterone, 5 to 10 milligrams.
Okay, so the prescription for this patient would be, you will counsel for her blood pressure, blood glucose level and thyroid screening, and then advise lifestyle modification, exercise 5 times a week for cardiac, and 3 times resistant training for bone health. Then protein diet, plenty of fruits and vegetables, calcium supplements, vitamin D, and the prescription for MHT will be 1 milligram of estradiol plus 5 milligram of dydrogesterone. This is continuous combined regimen, daily at night. Or you can give 0.3 milligram of CE or plus 5 milligram of dydrogesterone or 200 microgram of micronized progesterone to her.
I just wanted to ask the panelists here, what about availability? Do you have these available freely for your practice? Audience, do you want to say anything about availability? Yeah.
The first combination of estradiol and 5 milligram dydrogesterone, that is available, but it is costly. So many times we prefer giving her estradiol separate and dydrogesterone or progesterone separate.
What do you do? Which one you give? You must.
I'll prefer not to give conjugated equine estrogen. I'll prefer to give her 17 beta estradiol, though it's costly, but I can explain her the benefits of it.
So you give separate.
Yeah, separate.
So that also may work. That also may. Yeah. Okay. All right. That is good. Jugaad. Everything is jugaad in India. So perimenopausal women and early postmenopausal women will benefit with sequential therapy. So consider that. So as you said, as Dr. Jayashree has pointed out, and if for any reason the transdermal is chosen, please remember sometimes transdermal is chosen not for an indication but by patient choice also. So that will be 0.05 milligram per day. And as far as the cardiovascular protection is concerned, I think it is the natural progesterone, the micronized progesterone, which we advocate. And if the woman has any features, would you like to stop it? What warning signs you ask for her to watch for? That is important, right?
Any chest pain?
Yeah. Yes, please. Anyone? Correct. Yes,
Irregular
mic
pe-
में बात करिए. Yeah.
If patient is having any features of irregular bleeding period after menopause, then we should stop the HRT and investigate. At least we should do a transvaginal ultrasound to do the
Unscheduled
endometrial.
bleeding, there is a recommendation, so we'll come to that. Yeah.
Then
If there is
chest pain, calf pain,
Yeah.
any symptoms.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And if persistent symptoms, then you may have to think about changing the dose. So this is some evidence in favor of sequential therapy and relief of VMS. And these are the self-help and coping strategies for VMS, because sometimes they do suffer a lot with VMS. Our women do not usually come with this much of symptom, but then we can advise them about clothing and exercise and food, etc. Yeah, case.
So now we move on to next case. The patient is 50 years, recently menopausal, just 1 year back, and there's no menopausal symptoms. She's just concerned about her long-term health. And she has heard somewhere that MHT helps in long-term health. So I would like to ask this question to Dr. Beena.
Thank you, Dr. Jayashree, Dr. Shobhaji. This case number 2 is a 50 years old lady, and she is menopausal, but she says she has no menopausal symptoms. So first of all, before doing anything, we must first ask her what she understands by menopausal symptoms. Because most of the people think that hot flushes and sweating and all these are vasomotor symptoms. But as we had seen in the previous slides, that there are 7 or 8 type of symptoms. So we must first confirm what she understands by menopausal symptoms. And we should ask one by one, do you have this, do you have this, do you have this? If everything is no, then we will label her as asymptomatic post-menopausal woman. And then the second thing is we should know why she has come. So she is not bothered about the menopausal symptom because everything is no. Now she says, because I am 50 years, my menopause has come, and I know that so many problems, they crop up after 50. So what is my health at the moment, and what should I do about my health in future? So she has come for that. So as a general physician, not as a menopausal doctor, we should have a holistic approach to our patient, because she is not having uterus only. She is having so many systems. So we should do one by one, take history accordingly. And as history, the personal history,
When
the
you
family
assess
history,
the risk, Beena madam, do...
no, I'm coming to that. So we have to assess what are the risks in this patient, which can result any disease now or in future.
Yes.
And that can be done by a proper history of her family, a drug, past, surgery, etc., like you said. And the lifestyle history is very important, because if your lifestyle is hopeless, then you should ask her that you should beware of your lifestyle, because this is going to give you trouble later on. And secondly, the general examination, the systemic examination, pelvic examination, and if needed, mammography or a vaginal pH, we can do the 5-minute ka test, we can see. Because one question Dr. Meeta had told us, that if she says, I have no symptom, then ask her one question, how is your sexual life? If she says, oh, हम तो नहीं कर सकते, बहुत pain है, I have left it somewhere some years ago, you know that she is having some sexual problem. Although most of the women don't talk about it, they hesitate, and we also don't ask. So that is the one thing which I learned from Dr. Meeta. Ask only one question, and you know where she is. So then, after examination, after history, then you do relevant examination, because all those risks which you have identified during history and examination, now your investigation should be accordingly, not haphazard, only those which re-strengthen your diagnosis. and then we can categorize the patient into two groups.
Correct.
Yes, she is asymptomatic, but she has no risk. And she is asymptomatic, but she has latent disease.
Yeah.
And then she is asymptomatic, but she has disease which she didn't know before that.
Correct.
So we have to give preventive advices in all these three groups, and in the second and third, we have to give preventive advices plus the
Thank
treat
you
the
so
disease
much.
and
Thank you, Bina ji. That
and
is really
one more,
wonderful.
we have to tell
you
her
have to
to
do
come
cancer
for
screening, but cancer
yeah,
screening,
yes.
mammogram and pap smear
Yes.
at the very least.
we
one
have
has
to,
do.
screen her
Yes,
for the
yes.
comorbidities
Yes,
and
also.
the cancers
Yeah.
and the risk of ETs,
As far as
etc.
MHT is concerned, it is not propagated as a universal preventive.
Yes.
Only data for bone health are coming up right now,
Yes.
as Dr. Meeta has
Yes.
been telling us. And POI, of course, we are giving without.
So MHT
Yeah.
is not a prescription for prevention.
Yes,
it
thank
is a prescription for treating the symptomatic woman.
Yeah.
And we should also counsel her to come for every alternate years so that we can assess that she is
Yeah,
fine.
it is an individualized
and-
thing.
Yes,
Some
and
practitioners will call them every year, mind you.
No, every
And
2
I
years.
also, yeah,
And
recommendations
every 2
are
years.
there every alternate year, I understand.
Yes.
But given the Asian population, the Indian population risk profiles, and as the cardiologist rightly pointed out, it's better to assess ourselves every year. I don't think we can cut corners with doing a TMT every year. Do you agree, doctor? Because I land up every 6 months and they send me back. They say you come after 1 year. Because it's not easy to go and get yourself tested. It's okay to write on paper. But to get a mammogram done, you really have to prepare your mind for 3 months, you know. That so like that. Yeah.
I think,
your input and we move on
yes,
because we are delayed.
One sentence.
Kindly
please.
give crisp answers,
We
everyone.
have our menopause rating scale. We can
Yes, of
share
course.
this to patient and they will
MAs,
have
yes.
that. Idea.
Yeah,
I
that's a very good
suppose
thing.
in
And
this-
the app also serves. App also serves.
In this particular case, I suppose the question is that once we have excluded everything, that she has absolutely no symptoms, then what? Whether we are going to give her menopausal therapy or not, MHT or not, that is the question. Now, when it is not a preventive therapy, then why will we, unless we assess in details about her bone health and everything, it is just not possible to tell whether she has to be put or not. That means every woman who comes to you has to be investigated thoroughly at the age of 50 for her bone health and for her
We'll
mammogram,
come to
for
that. We'll
everything.
come to the indications for
On-
DEXA
only
and
then.
ASCVD. We'll come to
Otherwise,
that.
it is
Yeah.
not possible
Correct,
to tell
correct.
whether we can give her
Yes.
or not.
So, yeah.
So mine is over.
Next question. Next case. The patient is 50-year-old, para 2. She has both normal deliveries. BMI is 28 kg per meter square. Menopause 1 year ago. And severe hot flashes, disturbed sleep, anxiety, and body ache and fatigues. All these symptoms she has come. And her medical background, hypertension. She is a known case of hypertension on cilindipine for 2 years. BP is well controlled, 140/90, never higher. HbA1c is 5.7. And non-smoker, she walks daily for 30 minutes. Family history of breast cancer is there.
Yeah.
So my question to this, is MHT safe in this case? How will you counsel that patient and how will you investigate?
Yeah, this patient, since morning we have been understanding that counseling is very important and history and everything. But there are certain female specific risk factors. I think my cardiologist colleague will agree that suppose the patient gives history of preeclampsia during pregnancy or gestational diabetes or hypertension, then she becomes very high risk because we are the obstetricians basically. And if the patient develops preeclampsia, then we have to understand that the risk of developing CVD later on is 2 to 3-fold increased. So that we have to take care. Then sometimes they may have rheumatoid arthritis or other things also. And in this particular case, there are risk factors like she is overweight, her BMI is 28, she is
ये बताइए
borderline.
कि safe है कि नहीं है?
इसमें just like that safe है कि नहीं, we have to find out, we have to use certain risk score
How would you investigate what risk factors?
Yeah, that is ASCVD calculator, that is very useful and it is very popular because it can immediately tell us that the woman is low risk, intermediate risk or high risk. If she is low risk, then the risk is less than 5% as in this case. And if she is intermediate risk, then risk is 5 to 10%. If she is high risk, risk is more than 10%. And you know, this calculator includes many factors, and all these are here, and lipids were not there in that, but I understand that she might be having some dyslipidemia or something. Yeah, but since she is low risk, so definitely we can give her menopausal hormone therapy.
What would
What will be the choice?
Yeah,
What
in
will
her
be the
ca-
choice?
In her case, I will give her oral, and you know, because the choice depends on the patient preference. Many of the patients, they are not happy with the.
Isme, are you happy with oral because she's
Yeah,
already
the-
hypertensive?
Yeah, she's borderline hypertensive still and
She's
overweight.
on treatment. She's
Yeah,
on treatment.
so I'll prefer to give her transdermal, but transdermal may not be available in small cities of India, or it may not be easily available in low resource settings. So in that case, I'll have to give her low dose MHT.
Good
oral.
answer, very good. How will you protect the endometrium?
Yeah, for endometrial protection, we'll have to give her progesterone as well. She'll be given continuous combined hormone therapy. And that will be excellent for her. But at the same time, whenever we are giving her hormones, we have to call her annually, as you said just now, because risk assessment, this ASCVD score changes.
Doctor,
Because-
can we ask the cardiologist this?
Yeah, sure.
So this is the risk score of this lady, 2.7%.
Yeah.
So she will be in a low risk criteria. So depends why you are giving this HRT.
She is severely
She's
symptomatic.
So in that case, you can definitely, this lady will come in a low risk score because the BP is adequately controlled. She is a pre-diabetic, active lady, walks 30 minutes.
Correct.
You can do some basic test like an echo or TMT to just start
Now we are
initiating
planning to
HRT.
give till 60 years. Then how often should we call and what should we do?
Yeah, as ma'am said, the history is also very important in this patient. So if the family history of CAD is there, so I would like to do some three newer tests, newer modalities, like an lipoprotein A and calcium score. It is very important in ladies, and HSCRP levels. So we can do these tests in the follow-up also. And if they are okay, normal, then we can proceed the therapy.
Very
Correct.
good. Highly sensitive CRP seems to be a good marker of progressive atherosclerosis.
And what are the red flags to call the patient urgently back to the clinic? What are the red flags in the patient?
We annually calculate. No?
The warning symptoms is you say that if there is sudden swelling in the calf, we can, because deep vein thrombosis is also important. We should.
Yeah. She has to reduce weight. That is
She's
another.
not
What was the
obese, she's
BMI
just
in this
overweight.
patient?
She's just
28.
overweight,
Okay.
she's not
Oh,
obese.
So that is also important. You must understand that
No,
obesity is itself a risk factor for deep
Jayashree,
vein thrombosis.
yeah. What would you say ideal BMI for menopausal women to reduce cardiovascular risk and reduce cancer risk? What should it be?
It should be less than 23, 22 is
Yes,
ideal.
yes, that is the message. We are all overweight. I am overweight
more
and
than
obese.
25.
Because I am, bilkul. So please understand that BMI cutoff for Indian women is very, very low. So please remain within that and protect your heart. Yeah. Thank you very much for that. Yes, yes.
May be the normal range,
Huh.
but the waist circumference
Is very important. Excellent. Yeah. So more and more inputs are coming, and that is what we want. And no, these are inputs which are only supporting
One thing
the
I
case.
want to add, ma'am,
both-
if the patient
Yes,
is having
Sushma.
vasomotor symptoms, then it makes the patient more risky for future cardiac events. So we should
Especially stroke.
stroke and CVD. So we should give
That is
more.
why we asked the question whether it is safe. That is what is your strength, your conviction. She has risk actually in future of stroke.
Yes, ma'am, because of the
Keeping that
weight and
strict- yeah, so should we really prescribe? So the answer to that is evidence is telling us to prescribe now transdermal route, because
Transdermal
transdermal does not impact the coagulation factors as much as the oral does. Just now we heard about all that. So, yes? Triglycerides, right.
You have to keep in mind the oral increases and transdermal decreases triglycerides.
Correct. So if there is a specific deficit of HDL, then oral benefits them more. But then LDL will be, going up. So you really have to balance, and that is the nuancing of. So as he said very initially, that there should be a strong collaboration with and make it a multidisciplinary team who looks after the woman, because it's really very subtle signs which lead to cardiac problems later on. So please, and then easily when she is on hormones, somebody might say that okay, you should not have given. That is why this has happened. So be very, very careful, but she deserves it. In spite of all these, she deserves it. Please bear that in mind.
That is where we can write in the prescription, this was her risk. We have to have a form.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. The low risk, he very well pointed out, low risk and years since menopause is. That's why we kept on emphasizing on the age factor and the time factor. So less than 5 years it's acceptable, 10 years it's acceptable, more than 10 and alternatives, right?
What I'm telling
right?
is, in her prescription we should write.
We should write. We should.
We Madam, should we fill a consent form stating everything and get its signature?
No, consent is not required for prescribing.
For MST?
Not required. For
in
MST.
high risk?
The cardiologist this is something which we have put it up, thinking that, this is one slide, everything for established coronary heart disease with menopausal symptoms, what can we do? So, she will be on statins, she will,
If there is established coronary artery disease, I think better avoid hormonal therapy.
Yeah.
That is I can summarize this only, not to give. There are so many other medicines for cardiovascular, like statin. So better avoid in these patients, especially if it is an older women and have established cardiovascular disease. Better to avoid hormonal therapy.
So the ASCVD risk calculation is very important.
Yes, very
important. Okay, then the alternatives for her symptom relief is SNRI and SSRI, and non-hormonal alternatives go like this. For paucity of time, we shall not be going into those therapies. So these are the preparations which are used. I think this has been discussed since morning. Okay, the case. Yeah.
So the next case is 42 years old lady, had menopause at 1 year ago, and her BMI is 24 kg per meter square, known case of diabetes type 2, and her HbA1c is 6.5, and no history of CVD and VTE, non-smoker, and her presenting symptoms are frequent hot flashes, insomnia, irritability, fatigue, and reduced quality of life. So
this is little early menopause.
Early
Not
menopause.
premature, but early menopause. Yeah.
So how will you proceed in this case?
Yeah.
Is it safe to prescribe MHT in this case?
Yeah, Jagriti.
Yes, it would be it will be beneficial for her because she is having a little menopause a little earlier. She doesn't have other comorbidities, no history of CVD or VT or so on. We have to keep in mind about obesity, but her BMI is also 24. So we can safely prescribe MHT for her. MHT will also help improve the insulin sensitivity. It will lower down the glucose levels also. In case if she was not, so in well-controlled diabetes, MHT can be given.
Endocrinologist can
orally can be given. If there are other comorbidities, then a transdermal, CVD risk, then a transdermal route can be given.
Yes, Sushma. Sorry.
Ma'am, diabetes patient can be given MHT, but diabetes plus end organ failure should not be given. In that case, MHT is contraindicated. This patient, you said less than 40 we know premature, 40 to 45 is early menopause. So this patient is the candidate for early menopause, and BMI is 24, which is overweight. Indian BMI guideline says कि 22.5 से 25 is overweight, 25 to 27 is means obesity. Class 1. WHO says 30 से above is obesity, but Indian guideline says कि it is above 25. So the patient stands for the overweight patient early menopause patient, diabetes well controlled. MHT has beneficial effects that it improves glucose sensitivity. It has shown a reduction in the cases of diabetes also. And MHT, in those patients, like MHT can be driven by the CVD risk. Suppose patient has low grade CVD risk and patient is not obese, you can give oral MHT. Suppose the patient is obese and the patient has high risk, moderate risk CVD and patient has to be given, then it is transdermal.
So in this case, what will be your choice?
So ma'am, in this case, actually the patient does not have any CVD risk factor. Patient is overweight, not obese, so we can give oral MHT.
Oral MHT.
So MHT does have some benefit in terms of new onset initiation.
Decrease
of
the
diabetes,
onset
but
of new
we
onset
are currently not recommending it as a preventive
Yes,
therapy
ma'am.
for diabetes.
Yes, definitely.
Because lifestyle is better prevention for diabetes, and MHT is not contraindicated in healthy women with type 2 because it may benefit glycemic control. There we want to rest the case on diabetes. Oral estrogen, stronger beneficial metabolic effect because first hepatic metabolism is there, so better suppression of hepatic insulin resistance. So whenever you have diabetic, try and see if oral can be given, okay, with better risk assessment. But then it also increases triglyceride, as doctor pointed out, and the coagulation factors. So all the CVD risk will come in. So if the ACVD is significant, then transdermal. Okay, otherwise it is possible to give oral. So there rests the case, yes case. Yeah.
So we will move on to next case. Patient is 34-year-old, amenorrhea for 10 months. She has one issue. BMI is 22 kg per meter square, no contraception use, no chemotherapy, no history of chemotherapy or radiation history. She presents to you with severe hot flashes, night sweats, mood swings, and anxiety, sleep disturbances, vaginal dryness, and reduced work performance and quality of life. So, and evaluation findings all suggestive of premature ovarian insufficiency. So, do we treat these patients with hormone replacement?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Jayashree. Yes, these patients, she's a case of premature ovarian insufficiency, and in these patients we need to give her, we have to give her menopause hormone therapy till the average age of natural menopause, at least till then, unless there is some strong contraindication.
Correct, correct. So we have to manage the estrogen deficiency.
You have to,
I
yes.
think, because otherwise,
otherwise
estrogen deficiency early in life will increase her cardiovascular risk. That is for sure, isn't it? Mike.
Estrogen is said to be protective in premenopausal. That is why the incidence of cardiovascular disease premenopausal in women are less than men. So that is there.
And what do you say about women with POI being susceptible for other autoimmune endocrinopathies? So do you see them like that?
Yes, ma'am. POI patients can have should have thyroid TSH level monitoring, because if patient has one autoimmune disease, can have other autoimmune diseases also. So TSH levels should be monitored, and vitals should be monitored. If you see blood pressure is less, patient has RBS is less, and you suspect adrenal insufficiency, then cortisol level and plasma ACTH should be done. And if you see any vitiligo or anything, then patient can have syndromic autoimmune disease. Candidiasis is also a marker that can be seen with adrenal insufficiency and other autoimmune disease.
Such fantastic input. Thank you so much. So whenever you have POI, MHT is not the end game. I mean, you do prescribe MHT, but keep your antenna high for these parallel endocrinopathies and always build up a team for her care, because this is a woman who requires long-term care, right? And some trust building is required so that she does not go out of follow-up and she comes to you for regular follow-up. Any other input by anybody? Otherwise I can go. Yes.
POI patient is also a high-risk patient for osteoporosis.
Yes.
So we should take care of the bone health
Absolutely.
also. And MST will help in
preventing
the
osteopenia
osteopenia
and
and osteoporosis.
Correct.
And to maintain the bone adequate bone mineral density of the
Correct.
patient.
And madam, how much estrogen you want to give her?
standard dose of estrogen.
No, tell
That is,
milligram.
that is 4.
should be high dose.
Yes, should be at least 2
be high dose.
milligrams
2
of
milligram per day.
estradiol.
Yeah. And the progesterone
10
protection
milligrams
is
of dydroprogesterone or
100.
200.
100 is also okay. Yeah. Yes, Jyoti. Please.
See, I just want to bring out that in such a young woman, sometimes they prefer to take combined OC pills, and that can also be given because they are young. They don't want to take what their mothers or grandmothers are taking if the pill packet falls out of their purse and things like that. So ethinyl estradiol in this age group is okay, and at least till the age of 40, we can give her a combined OC pill.
Thank you so much. And
Dr. Jyoti, these young patients are sexually active also at this time. So giving a COC will give that contraceptive benefit also. So up to 40 we can give COC and then we can shift to HRT. It will be cost effective also because
cost
HT
effective as well as like doctor has brought out, if there's stray ovulation, she can get pregnant.
Yes.
So.
Because spontaneous ovarian activity can resume, as we have mentioned here, and with that acceptance that physiological hormone therapy may be more beneficial for BMD than higher dose estrogen as in COC. So the woman should accept that she is taking COC, she has POI, it will not protect the bone health as much as MHT would do, right? But still, it is an option, as Dr. Jyoti said, due to availability and cost
factor is very
constraints
important.
and the comfort level and also the protection of contraception. So till when it should be continued in POI? Anyone wants to give an input?
At least till the average age of natural menopause,
Okay.
and after that again a reassessment should be done.
Okay.
If it, and it can be continued
So
even
there
further.
is a grade C recommendation till 50 years for sure. After that, you can still continue. Natural age of menopause in India is about that, 47 to 50. So you can continue. And the follow-up is very important in them. We have been discussing about, other insufficiencies, and adrenal insufficiencies particularly commoner in women with autoimmune uveitis, not other causes of POI. Okay. So then,
Next case is 49 years old female, menopause 2 years, complains of severe hot flashes, night sweats, sleep disturbances, and there is a past history of unprovoked DVT 5 years ago. BMI is 29, she is a non-smoker, not on long-term anticoagulation. So do we treat such patients with hormone therapy?
Big no for hormone therapy because she had unprovoked DVT, which is a very high risk.
कुछ नहीं देंगे, nothing. She is very
No. We will give her non-hormonal or other therapy, or if at all it's very necessary, we can give her transdermal.
Transdermal.
Yeah.
It is very necessary. She is having so many symptoms. Poor thing.
No, but oral hormone therapy, big no.
Okay.
Transdermal can be given because that is the indication in cases of venous
So whenever there is
thromboembolism.
an acute event of venous thromboembolism or even thrombosis, then all systemic estrogen is contraindicated, oral or transdermal.
Ji.
Okay, and of course the woman requires anticoagulation therapy as prescribed. But if it is in the past, then oral should be avoided. Transdermal has lower hepatic effect. Prefer the lowest transdermal. We'll come to one slide on low dose and use micronized progesterone if the uterus is present. Safer alternatives are available. So it's important to inform the woman that there are these alternatives, and women may choose that, though they may be less effective. And they may be less well tolerated, but you can give. Vaginal estrogen is acceptable
For GSM.
Okay,
Yeah,
that
that's
doesn't-
not a contraindication. Yeah.
Okay, then case.
See, 51 years old female, menopause 3 years back. She has a history of ER/PR positive
Excuse me.
breast cancer.
I will like to go back to the earlier case, because that has not been discussed very well. And I suppose even the transdermal estrogen is not recommended in cases of unprovoked
Unprovoked
Acute DVT, no.
No, not
History of unprovoked.
acute. Even the history is there.
Yeah, he wants to say something.
There's
There
always
can be underlying cause of thrombophilia actually.
DVT means you do.
Cause of it. Yes.
So this patient needs lifelong anticoagulation because you don't know the cause. If there would have been a provoked DVT, then the anticoagulation will be given for 6 months or 1 year maximum. But because this is an unprovoked DVT and you are giving a therapy which is procoagulant, so better to avoid whether it is parenteral or oral.
Transdermal. Okay. Transdermal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think in the previous case, the other option should be given first preference, and if they are not working, then we can think, but estrogen in any form, any route is
Will increase the
NO.
clotting factor.
Okay. Yeah.
So the next case, 51-year-old.
You already said breast cancer.
She is a case of ERPR positive breast cancer, and she is on she has taken previously taken tamoxifen and aromatase inhibitor, severe hot flashes, night sweats, vaginal dryness. Does hormone receptor status alter decision making?
Yeah, definitely, because nowadays we really come across with so many breast cancer survivors, and if they happen to be
Yeah. Please continue. Please continue.
Yeah. So if she happens to be estrogen receptor positive, obviously we have to avoid giving her estrogens in any form. So past history of breast cancer, we should never give hormone therapy in the form of estrogens, and low dose vaginal estrogens can be used if she develops GSM, because
What will you give her then? She's very quite.
yeah, we will give her non-hormonal therapy.
Tell me what you.
We will preferably give her venlafaxine because that is SNRI and that is the drug of choice, because she has had, like suppose she takes tamoxifen now or aromatase inhibitors, they also cause as a side effect hot flushes, and this venlafaxine does not reduce the effect of tamoxifen. So this is the drug of choice for breast cancer survivors.
My question to oncologist, why do we say no to estrogen therapy in cases of triple negative or ERPR negative cases?
Okay, ma'am. So triple negative and ERPR negative cases, mostly they are young patients, and as you correctly said, they have completed their treatment, so they may have induced menopause. But we have to assess their risk status for recurrence of metachronous disease that we will assess genetically. If they have a strong risk, if there is a strong family history also. With family history, I am
Doctor,
saying...
can you tell us the genetic disease risk assessment? Is it BRCA1, BRCA2 or anything else? Yeah.
It is BRCA1, BRCA2 and P53.
P53.
Yeah. So we are taking all these three.
These are commonly done and easily available.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is germline.
Germline.
Germline by blood.
Yes.
Okay. And then second
So we are
thing,
talking about the patient.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then second, with family history, if there is a family history, even these are negative, these genetic factors are negative, still she's having high risk for breast cancer.
So when we assess family history in the family tumor which has happened,
yes.
what
so
is important for you? That
So
patient's
family-
serum
yes.
assessment or that patient's tumor assessment of
So
research?
family history, there should be family history of gynecological cancers or breast cancers. No other cancers, like or there can be colorectal cancers also. That may be that may increase your
Related
chance
to
of
BRCA, yes.
breast cancer also. In
Lynch.
their siblings or mother side. Second, if these are the genetic markers are positive, then there is a high risk for this thing, breast cancer. So these things we have to assess before prescribing any hormonal therapy, because that hormonal therapy can increase their risk of hormone positive breast cancer, not triple negative breast
So
cancer.
that is what is recommended before we take a decision to
Yes.
give them estrogen
Yes,
therapy.
yes.
Suppose there is absolutely no genetic risk, all the tests, if it is available, affordable, they do it, and she has symptoms, and there is a past history of
Yes.
negative cancer.
So
this is
if
case
coming-
is positive,
yeah.
but Jayashree's question
if
was
we are coming
completely
to that
negative.
case,
Yeah.
yes. So she's 51 and she's having this breast cancer, and tamoxifen and aromatase inhibitors, now it is recommended for 10 years. So we have to ask when she had that breast cancer and how long she completed her tamoxifen or aromatase inhibitor because if she left that tamoxifen in 5 years, then it is an incomplete treatment.
Okay.
So you have to assess that thing, whether she completed her anti-estrogenic treatment completely or not. If it is not there, then she has to continue with the anti-estrogenic treatment, and she should not prescribe estrogenic
But
therapy
in negative
here.
cases, we don't give tamoxifen and all, no?
Which one?
In ERPR
Suppose they are
negative,
ERPR and
Yeah,
negative.
in
We are
that
not giving
case- In
tamoxifen.
that case, we are not. But here, she is ERPR
so
positive.
in that case, how do you assess whether to
With
give?
the same thing, with the genetic history
No, sir,
and family
that's what
history.
my question was. Everything is negative, genetic and the receptor is negative. Can there
Can we
be
give?
possibility of prescribing
Yes, so
estrogen?
if she's a case of breast cancer previously with ERPR negative, in that case also you should not go for that,
Should
because
not
there
go
may
for
be a recurrence which is ERPR positive.
That's what we
Okay.
wanted
Yes,
to know.
yes.
Thank you so much for that input.
Yes,
So
yes.
we suggest that other established means of controlling symptoms or preventing osteoporosis should be utilized in these women. So please don't leave them without treatment just because we cannot prescribe MHT. There's a whole alternative therapy which can be provided, and her future can be made safe. So there is some detail here about which particular SNRI can be used. So paroxetine is not preferable. Venlafaxine, because it will interact with the tamoxifen efficacy. So as she rightly pointed out, venlafaxine or citalopram or duloxetine have been found to be effective and safe and do not interfere with the pharmacopreventive therapy of breast cancer. Somebody in the, Revati madam was saying, why not tibolone in these cases? So tibulone's risk profile is similar to estrogen, So, that I'll come to, madam. I'm coming to. Exactly what madam is trying to say, that there is now emergence of this neurokinin B receptor antagonist. So any of the panelists have had this thing, it is now available for us, am I right? No? Not yet, okay.
Not
You
really
saw?
available.
Yeah. So if this drug gets available, then it is really a very wonderful solution for VMS. Yes. Yes?
They are not available.
It is approved outside India.
But let us hope that it will come. Let us hope. Indian market is a very, vibrant market. It should come. So then look out for this drug in future, because it is centrally acting, it is non-hormonal, it will not increase the risk at all, and you can use it for symptomatic therapy. Yes,
This
please.
physio is good for the hot flashes, and
Yes.
the other was hot flashes as well as sleep disorders.
Yes.
So we move
Exactly.
on to next
Thank
case.
you.
She's 47-year-old perimenopausal patient, long-standing migraine, worsened around menses, menstrual irregularity, hot flashes, sleep disturbances. BMI is 25. She is non-smoker, no history of stroke or VTE. Can we prescribe MHT safely in this woman?
Yes, we can prescribe MHT because she is having migraine, but not migraine with aura. So she can be prescribed MHT.
Which
Transdermal route is preferred over
But
the
transdermal is preferred because
why transdermal
it
is
is
preferred in this
stable
case?
control that comes
Stable
with
control.
So it
transdermal.
provides a steady low level,
Yes.
which will not trigger migraine attacks, whereas when we give orally or
And she's
transdermal,
she has
orally it can
menstrual.
fluctuate, and
So
it
that
will-
is usually the lack of estrogen during the progesterone phase that precipitates the migraine because of inflammation in the brain.
Thank you.
So that
we
is why
come
it
to tibolone, and someone can respond. Yes, because there's a lot of curiosity. Because if you give tibolone, you need not give progesterone. That is why. Yeah.
So in this case, this patient has got symptom of hot flashes, but the main symptom is low libido and mood symptoms. So mastalgia and high breast density. So I think this is an ideal case for tibolone, because whenever there are vasomotor symptoms plus low mood or persistently this low libido, the tibolone is going to give her more benefit.
Correct.
Secondly, she has got complaint of mastalgia and high breast density. So in this case, there can be a problem with mammography also. So tibolone is better for this, but tibolone cannot be given to breast cancer survivor also. And third is that tibolone gives
I
also
think
advantage.
there is some evidence that it increases the recurrence. It is increasing.
Yes,
increases the recurrence.
yes. And in cases where there is some problem with the bleeding also with conventional HRT, there also the Tibolone has got added advantage.
Correct.
So I think in this 9 case, the Tibolone will give benefit in the low libido and mood disturbed, in the bone loss, in the urogenital health,
Correct.
and it can be used if there is this mastalgia. And also, if there are certain unscheduled or unconventional bleeding, Tibolone is best.
Very well put by Dr. Beena, and Tibolone is indeed a option. So please skill yourself for prescription of Tibolone, because it can really give lot of benefit to the woman if she is not able to tolerate MHT because of these problems, and if libido is not improving. Because one thing I wanted to tell about sexual dysfunction, it is not just the dyspareunia of dryness, it is not only that. Sexual dysfunction is a lot of elements in that, quite a few, you know, and it's very hard to assess a hypoactive sexual disorder. It's not easy at all. So then gynecologists are left with some few tools, and one of them is Tibolone, and then vaginal estrogens, of course. So therefore, yes, please.
That Tibolone is not to be given to immediate postmenopausal women, at least 1 year.
And also older women, more than 60. Suppose you are going with extended MHT with very guarded, caution, etc., then the conventional is better, not Tibolone, okay? And the low dose is better. So then,
60, no.
I think we are going to the, end of this, so I will just skip this. Isme kya tha? Isme psychiatric consult. The woman is really troubled by emotional lability and difficulty, because it all adds up in the end. And then women who are susceptible can have a lot of mental disturbances, and there can be a host of problems.
One line
yes,
in that.
Of course.
CBT is very important,
Very
and we should
important.
all learn.
Can you
CBT.
expand on CBT?
No, I have to read and then I can
No,
tell.
why I am asking is cognitive behavioral therapy is a very complex service to deliver, and psychiatric teams are able to individualize a therapy and then put it in use on the patient. So whenever we have a patient like this, we do our counseling, we do our prescription and send them for CBT.
Yes, that is what
and
is
she has to
important.
maintain a diary. Nothing less than that will work for the patient. Yeah.
So doctor, then when the patient has got primarily the complaint of depression and anxiety, then I think CBT is the gold standard.
Yeah. So in retrospective matched cohort, you can see that transdermal versus orals, there is some benefit that transdermal is better for women with psychiatric illnesses. Okay, somehow it has a steady level, so maybe it helps better. Now this is a woman with GUSM, and we all know that we'll just wind up, right? So genitourinary syndrome of menopause. So you all agree that we need to prescribe her with local estrogen therapy, and today is very accepted acronym for it is LET. So just get familiarized with this. This is the most valuable tool which you can have is local estrogen therapy. There is no systemic side effect. It can be used for extended duration, safety data for 2 years, but it can be continued. It can be continued in older women as long as it is giving. There's some availability of DHEA also, especially women who have more sexual problems, etc. So I think that we'll take up one closing statement by each. I just wanted to highlight in this, when we had the prescription workshop, there was so much valuable input by all the experts. Dr. Meeta on the molecules is such a golden webinar series that was because of the experts, and Dr. Jyoti Unni for the GUSM, and Dr. Sudha madam for the osteoporosis, bone health, and everything came out beautifully. So our president, Dr. Anita, has decided to release that handbook. Please read all. This is very well elaborated there. So whenever I just want to, I don't want to go into the treatment of osteoporosis. It's too long. Recommendations for DEXA scan. When do you advise DEXA scan in your women? With that and a few more slides and take home by the specialists.
All
We shall
postmenopausal
conclude.
women, more than 5 years of menopause.
Okay.
All menopausal women, less than 5 years, but
Who are more than 5 years? Who has got a DEXA scan done? Can we see a rise of hands? Oh my God. Panelists, मैंने नहीं कराया.
All
today I stand-
postmenopausal women, one major risk factor, or menopausal transition women with concern for secondary causes of osteoporosis. All patients on X-rays showing some deformities or history or
There is
fragility,
fragility,
compression,
fracture
fractures.
risk. Fragility, fracture,
Fracture
very
risk.
important.
Yes.
Never miss a fragility fracture in your patient. Transition with secondary causes. I just wanted to know from the endocrine one brief input on secondary causes of osteoporosis which gynecologists should look for. Yeah.
Ma'am,
Long-term thyroxine?
Yeah, long-term high doses of thyroxine.
How much are we talking about?
Ma'am, it could be more than 150 or 200.
Okay.
Okay.
50 and 75 is okay?
Is okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And Cushing syndrome, any hyperprolactinemia, these
Okay.
patients can have osteoporosis even at younger age. Ideally, Endocrine Society recommends DEXA scan should be done above 65. All 65 plus women should undergo DEXA scan. Less than 65 female, if have some risk factor like a low body weight or family history of fracture, or a patient has a rheumatoid arthritis or type 1 diabetes or SLE, like some other risk factor, then less than 65 or above 65 should have DEXA scan. DEXA scan has X-rays part, so it should not be repeated before 2 to 3 years. If you want to repeat it after 3 years.
Invasive, correct.
Yeah, because it has some X-ray X-rays.
harm. I
So-
just wanted to, sorry, आप complete कर लो.
Okay. So DEXA scan criteria for treatment are different, and if someone DEXA scan, everyone cannot afford DEXA scan. There is some FRAX scoring also. It is
Yeah, FRAX
freely
scoring.
available in
I
Google.
didn't go into it, no time, but FRAX
It's
scoring
Google
is very much part of evaluation. Please understand FRAX.
FRAX India score is there in Google
FRAX
calculator.
India is there.
13 things they ask for,
Yeah.
and it is to be used above 40 years of female. Above 40 years postmenopausal female, they ask for alcohol, cigarette, type 1 diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, and Visolon doses. They ask for, yeah. If the patient is on high dose steroid, then patient can have secondary osteoporosis even at young age. Fragility fracture means if patient can have fracture even in less than standing height, and patient cannot means this is the secondary marker for osteoporosis. And someone if has loose height, like suppose someone's height is
Becomes shorter.
yeah, shorter, or has bended, then the patient has vertebral compression, and
तो
it is the
बहुत
marker
देरी
of
हो गया उसमें.
osteoporosis.
It's very too late. We have missed the bus. So when
one
it
thing
comes
I
to
want-
MHD, we can't go too far in India from Meeta and Sudha ji and Jyoti ji and Anita ji.
Ma'am,
See,
secondary
again we are
causes of
quoting a paper
osteoporosis, I
from
want to
Dr. Meeta.
highlight the
Yeah.
uses, the use of glucocorticoids, because it is very common in India.
Correct. Steroid use, long-term steroid use, correct.
Long-term steroid use, you should be asked.
Rheumatoid
because-
arthritis, etc. SLE.
Ma'am, because many practitioners in periphery used to give Visolon or Betnesol.
Of course, to be
for
convenient.
body ache and weakness.
That's very
And
wrong.
it should be asked thoroughly.
Thank you, Sushma, for that. Yeah.
Ma'am, you have to add those who are having aromatase inhibitors. So
Okay.
they should be
They
checked
are also
for,
at risk.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. You know, that is the benefit of having a multidisciplinary panel as well as a clinical team for your women. So these are some questions which women are going to ask you. Does estrogen cause breast cancer? So wonderfully brought out by Meeta that indeed, you know, it is an overrated risk factor. It is usually when the progestin which is the culprit rather than the estrogen. And whatever she said, I want to emphasize with this slide. I just love this slide. So, and please use it wherever possible. Use it in your awareness talks wherever you go. So you can see the difference in breast cancer incidence per 1,000 women, 50 to 59. This is from BMS. BMS is British Menopause Society also. ठीक है, भोपाल वाले, हम बेंगलुरु, भोपाल, British. So we are all BMS. So 23 cases diagnosed in the UK. And you can see that 5 more cases with combined MHT, 4 fewer cases with estrogen only MHT. Can you see that? And obesity. Can you see the line? 24 more cases. And alcohol and combined hormonal contraceptives. So see, I am a champion for contraception. See the combined hormonal contraception and combined MHT. Same risk. Khali 4. And then current smokers is there, and at least 2.5 hours of moderate exercise. 7 fewer cases. All right. So please use this. Maybe they will exercise better. And please see this once in a day, maybe we will exercise better. Okay, thank you. These are some, on unscheduled bleeding, which I can't take. Hopefully some other person will cover it. And these are the indications for transdermal. We have discussed enough. I think, I just want to take, I don't think this is all very redundant. When we have discussed so much, let us not discuss anything. So don't miss the MHT Express. Get onto it before it leaves the station. One last word by the three specialists who have joined us and given us just the three, because I think gynecologists have spoken. Please. हाँ. मत अच्छा. Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah, so the message is that after so much discussion is that don't give MHT for prevention of CAD. So that is not a good thing. So don't give for prevention of CAD. There are so many drugs are available, so don't give for that. And if you are giving, then calculate the ASCVD risk score before starting the therapy.
ASCVD is ingrained now in the brain.
And if the risk is less than 5%, you can start MHD, and while doing a follow-up and you can do some test also. So.
A hormone replacement therapy should be given in every hormone deficiency state if it is not contraindicated after proper evaluation, and it should be continued till the natural age of menopause. Menopause hormone therapy should be given in the window period we have all discussed. And one thing about the osteoporosis, I just want to tell that estrogen, it reduces vertebral fracture incidence, it reduces hip fracture incidence, it preserves BMD, but when you stop estrogen, that protective effect is lost. And we have many good therapies for osteoporosis, and if the patient is not in that window period and the patient is has osteoporosis, then there are many therapies like bisphosphonates and denosumab.
Yes, we didn't go into the details. No, only last response, because no, the session has to go on. Yes.
Okay. So ma'am, yes, because post-cancer treatment we have secondary menopause, so this should be included in cancer survivors because it will definitely improve their quality of life. But with the some flags in gynecological cancers and breast cancers.
I just want to know if oncologists have become more and more aware about the value of MHT in cancer survivors, because that is the other thing. Ambuja madam is not here because she played a very prominent role in our cancer survivors webinar which we had. So I think
I want
very
to
strong role is
add
there.
one thing regarding the endometrial preservation. We can add Mirena for the yes.
And the permissions, I would like to, thank that we have all of you over here. But I just wanted to make a quick comment on the ASVD. So we are just trying to turn the things. Earlier on also, we were more particular about the WHO, the simple chart, rather than going for ASVD, because that's more, the ethnicity is different. So now the Indian government has also endorsed the global risk. Probably it's just come in about 2 years ago. So I don't think the cardiologists are also aware, and I've been telling since morning, use ethnic specific guidelines. So we have Indian Menopause Society guidelines since 2012. So use those guidelines where we don't have enough data, especially on MHT, because we don't have data where the MHT is working in the Indian population. So, but the demographic data is ours. You can't take the demographic data from the West and use it in ours. So that's one thing. And we have a special chapter on cancer survivors, when to give, when not to give, when it's neutral. So I think the Journal of Midlife Health, if you go onto the website, please, I think the other specialties also share it. And we are very happy with the endocrinologist. Jyoti is very impressed with, you're so balanced with your MHT, and that is what we want the other specialties. Don't overdo, but don't undertreat. Thank you for the time.
Thank you all the panelists.
Golden words indeed, yeah. So we rest our case and we are sorry if we have exceeded. And Anita madam.
It was a wonderful panel, Shubha and Dr. Jayashree. Yeah. Meeta very rightly told, and we are so lucky that Meeta has worked throughout the year for updating our CPG guidelines. So we are releasing in the inauguration of our clinical practice guidelines. I am lucky that when I was secretary in 2020, Dr. Jignesh Shah was president. At that time also it was updated, and again after 5 years when I am president, this is our guideline is updated. So we have planned to give in the physical form to all our IMS members this time. One more request, endocrinologist and cardiologist, if you are not member of Indian Menopause Society, please be the member. If you are, because ours is a multidisciplinary system and we have involved all in our local places. So my humble request to be the part of our Indian Menopause Society, because we are in need of you and you are also definitely in need of us. So my humble request. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Vanita ma'am, for words of wisdom. We invite all panelists for a group snap. Kindly come here.